Ben Shapiro is an interesting character when it comes to Donald Trump because he seems to have completely turned on Trump at this point. And he's one of the biggest proponents of conservatism or the Republican Party in America right now. He's got a gigantic network called the Daily Wire, if you're unfamiliar. And he's incredibly influential, especially on Facebook. It's kind of like an independent media type of thing. I'm pretty sure Matt Walsh is also on the Daily Wire, so is Candace Owens and some others. Absolutely terrible influence on society overall, the Daily Wire is. Well, anyways, Ben Shapiro here on screen has turned on Donald Trump over the NFT stuff. He turned on him a little bit before that, to be honest. But he had some things to say about the NFT stuff. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're watching this 5 years in the future or something. Donald Trump came out recently with a big announcement that he's selling NFTs. Now, if you're unfamiliar with NFTs, it's just a scam. It's just a straight-up scam beginning to end. He just scammed his fans out of $4.5 million. He was selling the NFTs, Donald Trump was, for like $100 each, and they sold out in 12 hours. He sold 45,000 of them or something. Honestly, sad that he was so successful in suckering so many people out of every penny they own. Not just with the NFT stuff, but with everything else. So anyways, Ben Shapiro has some things to say about it, so I wanted to listen to what he had to say. And if you want to hear more about the NFT stuff, like beyond what I've already said, like I said, I'm releasing a full breakdown of it, like of the whole thing, on my Fireside Chat channel next week, I think. So keep a lookout for it. While we listen to Ben Shapiro talk about how annoying it is that Donald Trump is scamming his audience out of stuff, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild. If you haven't really been following me on Breath of the Wild, I'll just tell you I'm doing the DLC right now where I go around to like different things with this obliterator thingamajigger, and I do go through the puzzles and things like that. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm up to right now. Anyway, all right, let's listen to Ben Shapiro, shall we?
Well, we live in very serious times in which the President of the United States, Joe Biden, is attempting to push world-breaking change on the social, fiscal, and foreign policy front.
Joe Biden trying to push world-changing policy? What's he talking about? What policy is Joe Biden trying to do? I'm sorry, I know I pause this a lot. I just cannot let this little guy here get away with anything, honestly.
We face battles in pretty much every arena of our lives politically, attempting to define the most basic terms in human life, ranging from the terms man and woman to the terms family. We're attempting to avoid a recession. There are a lot of very serious things happening in the world right now. This is why it matters that President Trump, who is the only Republican declared candidate so far, it's important to note that, he jumped into the water as soon as humanly possible after election 2022, which did not go a way that I think Donald Trump would have liked. Many of his hand-chosen candidates in the Senate did not win. Well, Donald Trump, 2 days ago, announced that he had a major announcement that he was going to reveal on Thursday. And for a lot of people who are watching his campaign, they're thinking, okay, what's that major announcement going to look like? After all, this man is the former president of the United States. This is a guy who presumably is going to have some policy recommendations that he wishes to try out. He's going to have some important things to say, no matter whether you are pro him or against him. The fact is that when the former president of the United States and a newly declared president for his third consecutive election says that he has a major announcement, people are going to take that pretty seriously. And a lot of people were taking that pretty seriously because...
Yeah, that really frustrated a lot of people that Trump said that there's going to be a big announcement. They were expecting something serious, something real, because he did just announce that he was running for president, and he has not named his vice president yet, for one thing. And for another thing, everybody is afraid that Trump is going to create a brand new political party, which is a reasonable fear. Trump said he's going to start a new political party. He even named it the Patriot Party. He decided not to do that because the Republican, party basically talked him out of it. They said, look, you can control us. Go ahead. Control us instead. And, oh my God, I can't believe I just died again. I don't know why I decided it was a good idea to try to go for that treasure. Control us, and we will fund you and do whatever, just grab our ankles for you, whatever it takes for you to not tear the Republican Party in two. And honestly, I think Trump would be willing to do it, create a new political party. I find it so interesting that Ben Shapiro doesn't like Donald Trump, but his main concern seems to be Joe Biden. He doesn't like Trump, but his main concern is Biden. It's just weird, man.
Again, if you are assuming that we live in serious times, and if you are assuming that Donald Trump is a serious candidate for president of the United States, and that he is running a serious campaign, what you would expect is some sort of major policy drop, for example. Or maybe he was going to announce who is running for vice president with him. Or maybe he was going to announce something else, politically oriented, that made a difference in American public life. Instead, the major announcement almost completely craters his presidential campaign before it even gets off the ground. Even many of his very, very strong allies, people ranging from Steve Bannon to, say, the Hodge twins, were criticizing what Donald Trump did yesterday, and for good reason. So what was Donald Trump's major announcement? Well, he put out on Truth Social the major announcement, all capital letters, major announcement. Quote, "My official Donald Trump digital trading card collection is here. These limited edition cards feature amazing art of my life and career. Collect all of your favorite Trump digital trading cards, very much like a baseball card, but hopefully much more exciting. Go to collecttrumpcards.com and get your cards now. Only $99 each. Would make a great Christmas gift. Don't wait. They will be gone, I believe."
What are you even going to give somebody for Christmas? Like, I think most of Trump's fan base is kind of older, maybe skews into like an age range of people who are not really that familiar with technology or like what NFTs are in the first place, right? Why would they care about NFTs? Why is Donald Trump trying to, I'm talking, but he did sell out in 12 hours. So I guess I guess I can't really talk, but like, what's he going to give the people? What are they going to receive? They're receiving a digital asset. Most of these people don't use computers and they're getting a digital asset. Just weird.
Very quickly. And the picture, for those who are not actually watching the show, and this is one of the reasons you should watch the show, so you can see the visuals, is a picture of Donald Trump standing in a wrestling ring wearing what appears to be a skin-tight superhero outfit with the American flag as his cape, a giant T on his chest, a rippling six-pack, a wrestling belt championship.
Apparently, I heard this when Trump won. Okay, it's just a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. But when Trump, got out of the hospital after, getting over COVID, he wanted to walk out of the hospital with, a Superman shirt on, apparently. That's the rumor that I heard. I don't know how true it is. It sounds like something that Trump would do, but who knows? He has this weird obsession with Superman is the point here.
And 45 boots, because he was the 45th president of the United States, with electricity popping around him. It's a meme. In other words, he's selling you memes for $99, and this was the major announcement.
It's not even cards that he's selling. It's just memes. You can't even, I guess you could print the card out, but who would care about a printed out card? I just don't get the draw. And I don't get why Trump's fan base is into this. Seriously, it's just weird.
So major, unbelievably major. Collect all the Trump cards, put together, search for Pikachu, find Pikachu, kill Pikachu.
Okay, Ben Shapiro's having way too much fun with this, and that was actually funny. I like that.
In any case, the former president of the United States also put out a video. And again, the reason this matters is because any presidential candidate who did this, it would be bad. The former president of the United States, a man who is the presumptive frontrunner jumping into the race doing this, is cringeworthy. It just is. And again, if you think that politics ought to be a somewhat serious business, that our politicians ought to provide a threat to the people who we believe stand in the way of our freedoms, then when you say you have a major announcement and what you actually drop is what appears to be an NFT money grab, especially in his, it's on every available front, it's the dumbest politics I think maybe I've ever seen.
Absolutely agree. Hard agree on this one.
It's painful. It's painful. And this is coming from somebody who voted for Donald Trump in 2020. And it's just bad. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, a hard year on.
Okay, we're skipping forward. I'm not letting him advertise on my stuff. I don't even know what he's advertising, and I don't care. Okay.
So Trump drops this video, and when I first saw it, I thought it was a deepfake. To be honest with you, I thought there's no way that Donald Trump would acquiesce to the people around him, pushing him to do something this.
He thought it was a deepfake. That's really interesting. Check this out. Okay, I haven't played this recently. I wanted to wait until my fireside video. I haven't finished that video yet. But you know what? I'm going to show you guys something that I found forever ago. Give me a second. See if I can pull this bad boy up. I was looking for this thing where basically Trump has a golden ticket scam going on, but it's not really Trump. Okay, here we go. Here, yeah, I got it. All right, copy. I should have just pulled it up on Twitter in the first place. All right, check this out. Okay, there are some Telegram channels that are really hard to get into. They're invite only, and they're basically pro-Trump QAnon Telegram channels, pretty much, okay? I went through the arduous process of getting in, and boy, do they have some wacky stuff in there. One thing, I'm in multiple. One thing that I've noticed, one commonality I've seen between all of these pro-Trump QAnon like Telegram channels is that they all have this golden ticket scam going on, okay? So you'll see things like this. Hang on. Okay, so I find this Telegram message, right? After Elon Musk supported our president with 2 million new gold tickets for sale and paying gold ticket users, he offered Donald Trump $1.8 billion for a 35% stake. There is no golden ticket, okay? It's all made up. It's completely fabricated. Elon Musk said, every patriot should have it for a better life and a better society. Elections are approaching, people. If Donald Trump accept my offer, I will not save money for all our patriots. Many patriots are already buying stock in Tesla with the Trump golden ticket. Most people who bought got an average of $23.40 per ticket, $2,340 per ticket. People, I told you this will be huge. Hurry up with orders because it's low of stock, it says. So there's a golden ticket scam going around. It's basically like, you know how people have like sponsorship deals and stuff that they do on YouTube channels? I don't do sponsorships almost ever. Not that I have a moral aversion to it. I just don't do them. Anyway, that's what this is. This is basically just like a sponsorship deal that they picked up on. People buy these Trump golden tickets from these people and use like their code and stuff, right? And they get like a bunch of money from it. They get 50% of what I don't know. I have no idea how much they make from this, like as sponsors or whatever. But they're spreading it all over pro-Trump stuff. So this audience that we're talking about here is primed to believe this stuff. They're primed to buy this nonsense without question. Not only did they go as far as to post stuff like this right here, but listen to this video that came out. It's fake, obviously. It's not even a deep fake. It's just fake. It's garbage. But listen to this.
Are you listening to something that I made to financially help all Americans, everyone, including you? The bill is amazing, okay? It is golden, and every bill has its very own serial number. It's true. America will be wealthy again, folks, okay? And every true patriot, even everyone in the QAnon forums, every true patriot must own at least 100 Trump bucks, because production, my friends, is like Nancy Pelosi's vocabulary, very limited. So get your Trump golden $1,000 bill before we run out completely. The TRB system is active starting in September, so you better get to counting, okay? Get your Trump bucks now and don't waste another day. God bless you, God bless all of your loved ones, and God bless the United States of America.
It's bad. It's just bad. Obviously completely fake. It doesn't even really sound like Trump. Not really, right? But his gullible sucker of an audience believes it. You know why? Because they have no critical thinking skills. Trump has trained them to give up on their critical thinking skills, honestly. So when he comes along with a scam, a real full-blown scam that he is running, like the NFT stuff, it is child's play to get them to buy into it, to do whatever, to spend whatever they have on this. It's child's play. I mean, these people have been getting scammed by Trump and by people in his circle for years now, 6 years since he really came on the scene and got popular. This is yet another scam, this whole NFT thing from Trump. Honestly sad and disgusting, but okay.
Stupid. Because again, NFTs, first of all, nobody understands what an NFT is. An unfungible token, which is what an NFT is, what it basically is a digital trading card. Essentially, you buy a GIF and you have the exclusive right to a copy of that GIF. Not the only copy, a copy of the GIF, which means nothing.
Yeah, NFTs are stupid in my opinion. I don't know. Cryptocurrency is not necessarily stupid. It's really easy to be taken advantage of with crypto. But NFTs, they're stupid.
Nothing, since I can literally just copy and paste one onto my desktop right now without having to spend $99. But here's Donald Trump announcing this major announcement. Again, I'm not the one characterizing it as a major announcement. If this has just been one of the many things that he put out, okay. When you're a presidential candidate and the former president of the United States, and you say that you have a major announcement, all capital letters, and your major announcement is spend $99 on my worthless gift for a chance to possibly win a Zoom call with me, that's not great, Bob. Here was Donald Trump yesterday.
Hello, everyone.
Who is Bob? He said that's not great, Bob? What?
This is Donald Trump, hopefully your favorite president of all time, better than Lincoln, better than Washington, with an important announcement to make. I'm doing my first official Donald J. Trump NFT collection right here and right now. They're called Trump Digital Trading Cards. These cards feature some of the really incredible artwork pertaining to my life and my career. It's been very exciting.
So stupid, man.
Each card comes with an automatic chance to win amazing prizes like dinner.
See, this is what reminded me. This scene right here, it reminded me of like that, you know, the Trump golden ticket scam that he was running on people. The way that scam worked, by the by, if you're curious, was people basically buy a golden ticket, and every 10 tickets, I think, was guaranteed to be worth was on average netting like $2,300 something. So if you buy 10 tickets for $1,000, you know, and that 10th ticket generates $2,300 something, then, you know, you've come out ahead. You've doubled your money. Were they even sending tickets to people? Were the tickets real at all? I don't know. I have no idea. It's very possible, in fact, I'd say even likely, that they never even received anything. It was all a scam the entire time. And anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. It's sad. But it's the exact type of thing people expected from Donald Trump. And that's why it was so easy to scam people out of it.
With me, I don't know if that's an amazing prize, but it's what we have. This is my first official Trump trading card NFT collection, and you get a chance to meet me. Go to collecttrumpcards.com.
They're not even trading cards. They're not even playing cards. They're not even cards. They are a digital picture that is shaped like a card. That's what it is, really. It's just sad, dude. People, God, like, these people hate me. They want me dead. A lot of them do, right? But I don't want anybody to be scammed, honestly.
Right now, and remember, Christmas is coming, and this makes a great Christmas gift.
Like, what do you even give to somebody that receives this Christmas gift? Like, what are you even going to give them to show them that they received an NFT, for that matter? Just sad. Dude, I'm sucking at this shrine. I'm doing so bad. I cannot believe I just fell off the edge. This is a really hard DLC. I honestly don't even like these shrines. I would rather just play the normal parts, but whatever. I got to get through the shrines, right?
So, yeah, man, that's it. First of all, I don't think it makes an amazing Christmas gift. If someone gave this to me for Hanukkah, actually, I'll be honest, I think it'd be great. If somebody gave this to me for Hanukkah, I'm willing to take it.
Yeah, because it's so stupid, and he knows it's stupid. If somebody got me this gift, I would think it was really funny, and I would appreciate it very much. Because it's so stupid. I'm on the same page as Ben Shapiro here. It's dumb as dog shit, honestly. And for that reason, I would appreciate it as a gift. I mean, it's sold out now, so nobody's getting me this for Christmas or anything. But anyway, just sad, man. Just sad.
What? Just what? So first of all, opening with, I'm a greater president than Washington. Let's come for the, I'm a better president than Washington or Lincoln, and stay for the memes of Donald Trump dressed as an astronaut, I guess, is the idea here. I'm here to announce a major announcement. They call it Magic the Gathering. I have finally completed my set, and you can buy a Magic the Gathering set as well, with a picture of me, Leviathan, Power 9. Like, this is not what a presidential candidate should be doing.
Agreed. He's not very presidential. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. He shouldn't be doing this. It's just stupid. But you know what? Ben Shapiro voted for him twice, so.
And everybody was making fun of this yesterday because, again, it is intensely mockable. This, especially the commercial, which sounds as though it came on Fox News at 1 a.m. selling a walk-in bathtub. That is what it feels like. So here's the question. If Republicans are being ripped up and down, as they should be, for not being serious enough about stopping the left, is this what you want? Is this what you want? It's one of the most counterproductive things I've ever seen a candidate do because of that. If you're a fan of Donald Trump and you wish him to be president, do you actually look at this and think that this is good strategy? Or does it look to you like he's trying to sell you a Trump steak or Trump water? Is it the worst of the Donald Trump branding? I'm pointing this out not because I want Donald Trump to lose. I do not think he's the best candidate in a primary. It is specifically because of this kind of stuff. I do not think that he's the best candidate in a primary or in the general election. Joe Biden obviously took the opportunity to jump on Donald Trump with both feet. And again, it's hard not to jump on Donald Trump with both feet when he gives you that open an opportunity. Biden obviously tweeted out, I had some major announcement the last couple of weeks too. Inflation is easing. I signed the Respect for Marriage Act. We brought Brittany Griner home. Gas prices are lower than a year ago.
Wow, I'm actually surprised that Ben Shapiro decided to address all of the, the successes that Biden listed. Absolutely. Those are some successes Biden had for sure. Hey, Owen, today is my birthday, 32 years old. Hey, how about that? Happy birthday, Ask Me Atheist. I hope you've had the opportunity to celebrate your birthday ever since you left the JWs. Absolutely. Yeah, I celebrate it to some degree every year. But honestly, I'm a big fan of just staying home and chilling out and, relaxing. Maxing, relaxing, all cool and all, that kind of thing. On occasion, rarely, shooting some b-ball outside of the school. Anyway, yeah, that's usually what I do for my birthday. Pretty fun. Happy birthday, Ask Me Atheist. Mike, hey, I bought one for the lols. I can send you. Okay. I appreciate that. You bought one of Trump's NFTs? It's okay. You may be able to do something with it one day. I wouldn't want to deprive you of that. I would only want it for the lols also. So if you think you can do something with it in the future, like maybe you could resell it or something, hold on to it. But if you really do just want to have lols with it, then send me an email at telltalemailbag@gmail.com. Maybe we'll figure something out. Anyway, just crazy, dude.
10,000 new high-paying jobs in Arizona. Now, all of these things are at least quasi-lies in terms of whether they are good. But that doesn't matter. Joe Biden is basically saying my major announcements are about things that I do as president of the...
No, those were not quasi-lie. How is that a quasi-lie? Let me step back, look at this again. Okay, inflation is easing. That's not a quasi-lie. Just sign the Respect for Marriage. He did, in fact, sign the Respect for Marriage Act. How is that a quasi-lie? They brought Brittany Griner home. That's true. Gas prices are lower than a year ago. That's also accurate. Although, yeah, that's accurate. We'll just go with that. I mean, I don't know why he says this is a lie. 10,000 new high-paying jobs in Arizona. How's that a lie? How is that even approximating a lie? Ben Shapiro just had to find a reason to hate Joe Biden. He had to find a reason to criticize him. He can't just leave things nice, He can't just accept that maybe Joe Biden has done some decently good things.
Prices are lower than a year ago. 10,000 new high-paying jobs in Arizona. Now, all of these things are at least quasi-lies in terms of whether they are good.
No.
But that doesn't matter. Joe Biden is basically saying my major announcements are about things that I do as president of the United States, and Donald Trump's major announcement is about NFT trading cards with bad memes from 4 years ago with lasers.
Absolutely, dude. I love that Ben Shapiro very obviously has a problem with Trump at this point. It's fantastic, in my opinion.
Coming out of his eyes. And this is the part that I think is really telling. If you are this unfocused, if you are this scattered, you cannot defeat the Democrat. You can't. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. And what it feels like, honestly, is it feels like Donald Trump is running a very lackluster campaign because I'm not sure he actually wants to run. I'm not sure what else to make of that. Because yesterday, he actually put out a somewhat major announcement. Here's the thing. Donald Trump literally put out an announcement yesterday about what he called his free speech policy, which actually had some rather interesting things in it.
That's true. Donald Trump did release a whole statement about freedom of speech or whatever else. I mean, we've seen what Donald Trump does when he's president. We don't need to assume. And the answer is basically nothing, except threaten people in power. Threaten people while he's in power. That's about it. Like, he got removed from Twitter, or he was getting tweets removed or blocked or whatever because they were he was using it as a bludgeon to threaten people, and Twitter was removing it or treating him like any other person, which I think they should have done. And in retaliation, Donald Trump is retaliating against a private company as president, using his presidential power to retaliate against a private company. In retaliation for Twitter just enforcing their own policies or whatever, he said he wanted to remove Section 230 so they couldn't so they had to, I don't know, big man. I don't feel like getting into Section 230 right now, but it was just a threat against a private company because he didn't like them and he wanted to retaliate against them. This is absolutely absurd. We know exactly what Trump would do as president because he had the opportunity and he was a monster the entire time.
And Trump put out a free speech policy in which he essentially announced that he wanted to ban the government from using its power to cram down on social media companies bans on information. Now, this would have been, okay, a major announcement, right? Like a policy announcement. This is what you would expect from a candidate, from the former president. Here was Donald Trump announcing that yesterday. But which one do you think gets more attention? Him doing that, or literally, which he did not say was a major announcement, or the thing that he himself said was the most major announcement, which was, in fact, a picture of him in spandex from his life and career. And this is the thing that should have been the major announcement, but it wasn't, even according to Donald Trump. I'm not the one who characterized it that way. He's the one who characterized it that way. Here's Donald Trump.
They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health.
Who is they? Usually when people refer to they like that, they're usually referring to Jews, to, these big, powerful Jewish elites that are blah, blah, blah. That's what Kanye West, Nick Fuentes means when they say it explicitly. They're open about that. These are called weasel words when you're referring to some ambiguous authority. In the English language, we use the word they. Oh, dude, how am I supposed to fight this? That's weird. We use the word, when we use the word they in a sentence in the English language, it's because we've already established the subject of the sentence. You're not supposed to use the word they if you haven't already established the subject of a sentence. So what they do, what Donald Trump does, or people who use weasel words, I already did establish the subject of this sentence. So what people like this do is they won't assert any subject, or they won't establish any subject of any sort. They'll just start referring to an ambiguous, amorphous they who's trying to ruin everyone's life, to ruin everything for everybody. And when they refer to people like that, it's usually Jewish elites.
The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens.
Dude, you had the opportunity to do this before. Why are you talking about this now? Why you could have done this way earlier. Seriously. You know what he did when he was in power? He tried to implement Section 230. He tried to abolish Section 230, which basically, I'm going to have to explain it. Removing Section 230 would have removed protections for social media companies. So instead of making it so that they don't have to censor things, instead of making it so they have the choice of, removing bad tweets or moderating their stuff or whatever, they would legally be required to moderate, or they can be sued for the things that people say on their platforms. That's what removing Section 230 would do. So if Donald Trump says something about somebody, if Donald Trump comes out and says, I don't know, I hate Joe Biden and I want somebody to do something about Joe Biden or something like that, Joe Biden could sue Twitter for not taking Trump's tweet down, for example. It's a lot more complicated than that. There's a lot more nuance to it, but that's basically what removing Section 230 would do. It wouldn't help Donald Trump. It wouldn't help anybody. It would make everything worse because moderation would get stricter on social media. But this was Donald Trump's suggestion. Did he think removing Section 230 would improve the situation? Of course not. It wouldn't. Objectively, eliminating Section 230 would make things worse. Objectively. It was pure retaliation against social media companies. That is why he wanted to do it. Retaliation and no other reason. So, yeah, we know exactly what Donald Trump would do in power. We've seen it. He would make things worse for everybody and lie and pretend that he was planning on making things better.
I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation.
Okay, so again, all of this is interesting and worthy of discussion and debate. And that last provision there where he says that he's going to stop the federal government from labeling anything mis- or disinformation, you see exactly why he's doing that. Because again, the federal government basically labeled everything up to and including the Hunter Biden laptop story mis- or disinformation.
Up to and including, there is mis and disinformation. Absolutely. I can't believe that we're even having this conversation. Ben Shapiro knows this, right? He can't possibly not know that there are organizations out there like governments and companies that set out to deceive people intentionally, have giant bot networks that they wield like a weapon to manipulate public opinion in the United States. He knows that, right? He can't not know that. They do run disinformation campaigns. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, minimum. I mean, there's this document called Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It was written in the early 1900s, and it's basically the Jews' plan for world domination. They claim they found it on, they as in the KGB, the predecessor to the KGB, called the Okhrana, the Russian secret police back in the early 1900s. The Russian secret police claimed they found this on a dead Jewish soldier, and it was like the Jews' plan for world domination, and they passed it around all through the 20th century. They went to the Middle East, to like Saudi Arabia and Egypt and all, Palestine, everywhere, and passed out this document that they claimed they found on this dead Jewish soldier. That is a disinformation campaign that Russia has been running for hundreds of years now, honestly. That's an example of a disinformation campaign that Russia ran for the past 100 years. And Germany ran that disinformation campaign too. Governments run disinformation campaigns. You must know this. And Donald Trump is out here saying he wants to eliminate the government's ability to label things as disinformation. Are you kidding me? Just him saying that alone is a national security threat. Just the suggestion that there's no such thing as disinformation is a national security threat, seems to me. But okay.
And ended up cudgeling or encouraging or winking and nodding at social media taking that stuff down. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it.
Oh, I guess that's the end. Yeah. Ben Shapiro is completely full of it in every way. This dude is ridiculous. He can't possibly he can't possibly believe half the stuff he says, right? He's not this stupid. He's not. He's not stupid at all. I don't believe it. Not Ben Shapiro. Which leads me to believe that he's just lying. He is simply lying. What other explanation is there? All right, let's see if we've got another video from Ben Shapiro that we can watch here. Hang on. Oh, let's see. Will Trump be vindicated? Okay, let's give this one a watch. Heck it.
Well, it was a predictable ending. The January 6th committee was formulated and created specifically in order to recommend criminal charges for President Donald Trump, and now they've done so. So anybody who's pretending as though any other...
No. Okay, see, this is how Ben Shapiro propagandizes. Think about this. Was the January 6th committee originally formulated or created or whatever with the intent to charge Donald Trump or recommend charges for Donald Trump? No. The January 6th committee was created to determine if charges would be appropriate and for whom they would be appropriate. Actually, the January 6th committee was created to determine if any laws should be passed by Congress to prevent something from taking place. That's what committees like that are for in the first place. They're to help Congress decide if they should pass laws about things in the future. And oftentimes, throughout history, in the course of deciding if laws should be passed to like resolve problems that we've faced or whatever, sometimes Congress will come across laws that were broken by certain people, actual laws. And they will recommend that, this is resolved, or they'll send it on to the Department of Justice or whatever. The recommendation. And that's exactly what happened with Donald Trump. But, Ben Shapiro, the way he framed it, is probably not very objectionable to many people, but it's incorrect. And it gives you a very specific idea of what it was for. This is how propaganda works.
Their conclusion was possible is out of their mind. The entire basis for the January 6th committee is that Donald Trump had done something criminal and they were going to justify.
No. The whole basis for the January 6th committee was to come up with laws that could be passed to prevent something like that from happening in the future. It was not about Donald Trump ultimately, actually. It was not.
Sending a recommendation over to the Department of Justice for charging.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by...
This was the speech that Trump gave right before, on January 6th, before everybody went to the Capitol.
By the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's...
You don't concede, yeah. Well, lucky for democracy, you don't have to concede for democracy to continue functioning. So that's something.
theft involved.
Now, as we'll discuss momentarily, their recommendations mean absolutely nothing. And this is essentially the same as if you sent an interagency memo to another department in your actual company.
Well, that's true. I mean, their recommendation that Donald Trump be charged with a crime means nothing. That's accurate. They don't have to. I mean, the Department of Justice doesn't. But aside from that, they're already investigating Trump anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, they didn't really even have to send the recommendations. I mean, they'll send the evidence over, so that's fine, whatever. This was really all about trying to determine if new laws should be passed. That's what the whole point was.
It would make no difference whatsoever. It has all of the legal force of a Christmas card greeting. That's pretty much all this is for, but it is a PR.
Not really. Well, I guess technically, but look at what happened to Steve Bannon. They recommended charges be filed against him for contempt of Congress, refusing to, come in and testify. And, sure enough, they charged him with a crime. So it's not nothing. They do have the ability to bring some consequences to people.
Our move was something that was going to happen, and it allows Democrats and the complicit Republicans to raise up the issue of January 6th yet again going into the 2024 election. That is the entire purpose of the January 6th committee. So with much...
Hold on, let me step back a few seconds and listen to that one more time.
Move was something that was going to happen, and it allows Democrats and the complicit Republicans to raise up the issue of January 6th yet again going into the 2024 election. That is the entire purpose of the...
It's the entire purpose. No, it isn't. The entire purpose of the committee was to come up with laws that could be passed to prevent that kind of thing from happening in the future. He must know this, right? This is just propagandistic framing.
January 6th committee. So with much ballyhoo and with much attention, the January 6th committee decided to recommend several criminal charges for former President Donald Trump, as well as other members of Trump's immediate circle. The January 6th committee announced that yesterday. Here's what it sounded like.
The judge concluded that both former President Donald Trump and John Eastman likely violated 2 federal criminal statutes. This is the starting point for our analysis today. The first criminal statute we invoke for referral, therefore, is Title 18, Section 1512C. We believe that the evidence described by my colleagues today and assembled throughout our hearings warrants a criminal referral of former President Donald J. Trump, John Eastman, and others for violations of this statute.
Now we're going to get into the specifics of the statutes that they are citing. We'll see why the statutory citations they make are actually insufficient in terms of a prosecution based on the available evidence right now.
Dude, no, they are not. But why is he carrying water for Donald Trump all of a sudden? He doesn't like Donald Trump. I think he's carrying water for him like this because he knows that it looks really bad on Republicans if Donald Trump is charged with a crime or whatever. Just give it up, man. Give it up and let Donald Trump be charged. He is pro DeSantis. Ben Shapiro is. Let, Donald Trump go away. Let him be charged with a crime and let DeSantis take over the party if that's what you want. I don't get why he's doing this at all.
But again, the entire purpose of the January 6th committee, this is why Republicans are so angry at people like Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney, who became sort of the front for the committee. The whole reason that Republicans are angry at the committee is because they felt like this was a setup from the very start. Nobody's opinion has actually changed on what happened on January 6th.
That is completely made up. People's opinions have most definitely changed over time.
Very small coterie of people who are pro-January 6th. I mean, a very small coterie of people. And then there's a huge swath of Americans who don't like what happened on January 6th. And they think what happened on January 6th involved criminal activity by the people who actually committed criminal activity. And there are a lot of people, like me, who believe that Donald Trump's activity between the election and January 6th was egregious and wrong. And also, he's not guilty of incitement to violence because we're very specific in how we think of incitement to violence.
Wow, that's fascinating. So Ben Shapiro is basically saying he does not agree with what Donald Trump did. He has acted in a grotesque way, an evil way. And he does not stand for what happened on January 6th. But he doesn't think he broke any laws. Are you kidding me? This is why? Why carry water for him? I just don't get it. This is exactly what Mitch McConnell said when deciding whether or not to impeach Donald Trump. Just give it up, man, really.
When the president of the United States actually says at a rally in front of the Capitol building or near the Capitol building that people should peacefully protest, and then people do not peacefully protest, well...
He did not just say peacefully protest. He most definitely whipped people into a blood frenzy, and if you think otherwise, you are completely full of it. He must know that Donald Trump whipped these people into a blood frenzy. This is just his propagandistic framing to make it seem less serious than it was.
Well, you can blame him again for raising the temperature, but what you can't do is suggest that he was telling people to break into the Capitol building to hang Mike Pence, because he was not, in fact, doing that. So the report that has been issued says that it has made
Donald Trump knew exactly what was happening. He watched on the news as people broke in. And they broke into the Capitol, and as things progressed, he tweeted out that he wanted, he was tweeting out that Mike Pence betrayed them and stuff. And was it Boebert or was it Marjorie Taylor Greene who was like live tweeting the location of Nancy Pelosi in that moment or something? I don't even remember which person did that, but oh my God, dude. We don't take that day seriously enough. We should take that day a lot more seriously than we do. It was really, really, really bad.
Made the specific findings with regard to the evidence. This is a direct quote from the introduction to this report. It's 154 pages because, again, the theory when it comes to congressional committees very often is fifth grade essay theory. The longer you write it, the more seriously we're supposed to take it. So here's what they actually say. Quote, beginning election night and continuing through January 6th and thereafter, President Donald Trump purposefully disseminated false allegations of fraud related to the 2020 presidential election in order to aid his effort to overturn the election and for purposes of soliciting contributions. These false claims provoked his supporters to violence on January 6th. That last sentence is unsubstantiated. Again, when you say
wow, okay. Let me listen to that last sentence one more time and think about what he's saying here.
Allegations of fraud related to the 2020 presidential election in order to...
So, Ben Shapiro does not dispute the fact that Trump was disseminating, the idea that there was fraud in the election.
To aid his effort to overturn the election and for purposes of soliciting contributions. These false claims provoked his supporters to violence on January 6th. That last sentence is...
Okay, so the thing he has a problem with is that his claims of fraud provoked people to violence. Are you kidding me? You have to be absolutely blind to not see what happened that day. He is intentionally fighting this. I'm actually, a lot of people know what happened to me in West Virginia a couple years ago, right? Like, my kid was in health class. The teacher started saying all kinds of anti-atheist, pro-Christian, anti-trans, anti-LGBT stuff in class. And we sent that over to FFRF, a recording of it, and they filed a cease and desist letter. And the entire town went absolutely nuts on us. It turned really bad, and we had to, move to a different area entirely. Well, they called me up recently because this happened again. Not a single teacher, talking about this stuff, but they held a rally, a revival, a Christian revival, during class hours that was mandatory for students to attend. That's super, super illegal. Well, their defense, this ties back to Trump, I promise. Their defense in court now is that this is a one-time event that, was unintentional. It wasn't the school district's fault. It was the teacher's fault, and it was just a single teacher, and it was once, so on and so forth. So now FFRF has to, get a hold of all 5 or 6 different people who have experienced this type of thing in the past 8 years, one of which was me. And, they have to testify to prove that this is a pattern of behavior for the school district. This is not a one-time event, right? You establish a pattern of behavior to determine that this would, to determine intentionality, basically. And that is what we do with Donald Trump. We can establish a pattern of behavior and a pattern of speech and things that he believes and has said and people that he has around and everything else. We can establish this pattern of behavior and belief to determine intention. Intent is really hard to prove in a court of law most of the time, but this is generally how you'd go about doing it. Without a shadow of a doubt, Donald Trump definitely inspired these people to violence. And by saying he whipped them into a blood frenzy by making claims of fraud and everything, that was them establishing a pattern of intent. So Ben Shapiro, being Harvard law educated in the first place, certainly knows this. He certainly knows that that is exactly what that line was doing, talking about, fraud and everything else. He certainly knows that people were trying to, or that the January 6th committee was trying to establish a pattern of intent, right? But he also knows that we don't know that. So he's going to propagandize and claim that there's no evidence at all that Donald Trump intended to do any of this. That is exactly what they went about doing just now.
This is unsubstantiated. Again, when you say that someone provoked somebody else to violence based on claims of, say, voter fraud, then the question becomes, okay, did the entire Democratic Party take the blame for the mass riots in 2020 based on their false claims of systemic police racism targeting black people for no reason?
There is no pattern of intent among the Democratic Party, quote unquote, whatever that means, or whoever that applies to. There's no pattern of intent that could be established through, like, by the same way that I explained a minute ago with Donald Trump or with the school district or whatever else. No pattern of intent there. And also, there really wasn't very much violence among Black Lives Matter or Antifa or whatever else. Yeah, there were a few people that were going nuts, and I don't stand for that, and basically nobody else does. Nobody stands for violence of any sort. Almost nobody on the left. There's a small, tiny little minority of nutbags who run around doing crazy stuff, and nobody stands for that or supports that. But I do live in New York City, and I can see clear as day that it's one of the safest places I've ever lived in my life. I've lived here for 2 years. I've never been mugged. I've never been threatened. Nothing. It is a perfectly safe place. Antifa and BLM did not, quote unquote, burn this place down as, the right likes to claim. It's completely made up, all of it. It's made up outrage. It's made up intent. It's made up everything. This place is not dangerous.
Because that's essentially the claim that they're making. They're saying that if you make a false claim and then people act violently based on the false claim, you are to blame for the violence.
No. They're establishing a pattern of intent. This is how he propagandizes and twists things around. This is how he obfuscates and makes things less clear. He just wants to blur the line a little bit. This guy is honestly a master propagandist. He is very good at what he does, unfortunately.
That is unsubstantiated at best. And again, those sorts of false claims are made routinely. And Senator Raphael Warnock in Georgia is still maintaining that electoral suppression is an issue in Georgia after he won a Senate seat. Okay, two.
Again, that's a completely different issue than what we're dealing with here. This is a pattern of intent. Donald Trump set out to deceive people and lie to them, knowing that there was no fraud and perfectly understanding how the election system works and knowing that it was secure, and whipping people into a blood frenzy intentionally to get them angry enough to do something psychotic. And sure enough, it happened. Exactly as planned.
Knowing that he and his supporters had lost dozens of election lawsuits, despite his own senior advisors refuting his election fraud claims and urging him to concede his election loss, Donald Trump refused to accept a lawful result of the 2020 election. Rather than honor his constitutional obligation to, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed, President Trump instead plotted to overturn the election outcome. Now, this gets into the area of free speech. Let's say that Trump didn't believe that he actually lost the election, which, by the way, the available evidence suggests that Donald Trump is able to convince himself of nearly anything, including the idea that NFTs are an amazing play in this economy.
So once again, he's trying to downplay Donald Trump's role in this, or downplay his intent. He wants people to believe that Donald Trump had pure and good intentions all the way down the line, from beginning to end. Trump convinced himself of just ridiculous, but believing that ridiculous, he did have pure intent. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I simply don't buy it. Intent is notoriously difficult to prove, and Ben knows that, and that is why he's taking this angle with it.
So the fact that President Trump had convinced himself that he won the election, and then he says, well, let's come up with a way where I can substantiate that I won the election, that's not necessarily illegal. Again, it could be wrong, but it's not necessarily illegal.
That's correct. He does have freedom of speech. It's not illegal for him to say something, but if his words lead to people's deaths, which is actually what happened, that is illegal. Ben is like pretending that we live in a free speech absolutist state, or that we should at the very least. We don't live in a free speech absolutist state, and we shouldn't. Anyways, there should be limits to this. Like, if you call for somebody's death, you should be legally punished for that.
Despite knowing such an action would be illegal, and that no state had or would submit an altered electoral state, Donald Trump corruptly pressured Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to count electoral votes during Congress's joint session on January 6th. Now, again, knowing such action would be illegal is the question, legally speaking here. Because if Donald Trump had a lawyer, say John Eastman, who was advising him that there might be a legal theory that he could pursue. It's not illegal to try to pursue that legal theory.
That's interesting. He would be correct, I think maybe, but Donald Trump was explicitly told in great detail that this was not constitutional by multiple people. He knew very well that this was unconstitutional, and he pursued it anyways. So, yeah. Sorry, that just does not stand up.
This sort of stuff happens in our courts literally all the time. People pursue novel legal theories in our courts when it comes to our jurisprudence.
In our courts. Yes, they pursue legal stuff in our courts. They don't send an angry mob to, like, a Capitol building every day to try to get people to overthrow the existing government. He really wants to, like, obfuscate this and make it seem like morally relative. Like, whatever, you know. Why? Why is he carrying water for Donald Trump? I just don't understand why.
On a regular basis. Does that make it illegal for them to do so? Not necessarily. According to the committee, Donald Trump sought to corrupt the U.S. Department of Justice by attempting to enlist department officials to make purposely false statements and thereby aid his effort to overturn the presidential election. After that effort failed, Donald Trump offered the position of acting attorney general to Jeff Clark, knowing Clark intended to disseminate false information aimed at overturning the election. Now, again, all of this comes down to Donald Trump's state of mind. And as I've said over and over.
Right, because intent. He's trying to prove intent or whatever. Yeah, they've already proven intent through the pattern of behavior. They've already proven it without a shadow of a doubt, and that is why they sent the criminal referral, first of all. And second, I'm not even sure that intent matters in this case. Like, all of the things that Donald Trump did lead to violence. I mean, it all led to an absolutely ugly situation where people literally died. So I don't think intent even really matters in this situation at all. But again, that's how Ben Shapiro wants to defend him. That's the tactic that he's using to defend the guy. Why? You got me.
Again, I've said the obvious thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, when it comes to intent crimes, is a very difficult man to pin down. The reason being, Donald Trump does not have intent to do things. Donald Trump acts and reacts in the moment. Has he ever enacted a long-term plan for anything? Everything is seat of the pants for Donald Trump. And so if he went to members of the Department of Justice, he said, I just want you guys to say there was electoral fraud. Is that because he actually believes there was electoral fraud? That's the question. Or is he doing it despite?
It's not really the question. It doesn't matter, honestly, what his intent was at this point. Like, he did things that were corrupt and illegal, and that's all that really matters.
By knowing that there was no electoral fraud. And just because, here's the thing about Trump, just because he was told by Bill Barr that there was no electoral fraud doesn't mean that he believes Bill Barr. This is the problem in trying to nail down Trump on this sort of stuff.
A lot of these crimes don't depend on intent. He corruptly asked some of his people to break the law, do something that he knew was against the law. He asked them to do something illegal, something that was completely outside of precedent, and they didn't do it. Now, does it matter if Donald Trump believes that it was legal or not? No, it doesn't. Does it matter that Trump thinks that it should be legal? No, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. What matters is that he corruptly pressured people to do something that was against the law. Intent is irrelevant, but in some of these cases. But Ben Shapiro wants to make it seem as though intent is everything here, and if Trump's intentions were pure, then he can't be charged. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense at all.
The committee says without any evidentiary basis and contrary to state and federal law, Donald Trump unlawfully pressured state officials and legislators to change the results of the election in their states. Now, again, this comes down to his state of mind. I keep going back to intent because when it comes to these crimes, they all have elements. We can all agree, or many of us can agree, that Donald Trump did things wrong, things that were bad. That does not mean criminal activity. So when it says change the results of the election in their states, according to whose perception? According to our perception, he was attempting to change the election outcome in these states. But according to Donald Trump's perception, maybe he was attempting to justify what he saw as the true result of the election in these states.
Doesn't matter. He was corruptly breaking the law. Whether he believed that he was breaking the law or not is completely irrelevant. What would happen if I tried to do any of this stuff? Seriously, think about this. What would happen if some rando out there tried to do any of this? We would be sitting in jail for the rest of our lives if we fomented an insurrection against the U.S. government like this. No chance would any of us make it out of this without sitting in a federal prison for the rest of our lives. Donald Trump deserves the same treatment. Donald Trump doesn't have any, he shouldn't receive any special treatment. And it's obnoxious and ridiculous that he might actually get special treatment.
And it continues along these lines. So the Washington Post has several takeaways from the committee report.
You know, he's already received special treatment. Trump has.
States. But according to Donald Trump's perception, maybe he was attempting to justify what he saw as the true result of the election in these states. And it continues along these lines. So the Washington Post has several takeaways from the committee report. So the first is what is actually in the 4 criminal referrals. There are 4 charges that they've brought forth. The first is 18 U.S. Code 1512C. That is obstruction of an official proceeding. So...
Oh, yeah, here's something else. Witness tampering, I believe, was one of the charges against Trump because he was calling witnesses up that were, you know, being called in to the January 6th committee, and he was threatening them. That's against the law, like deeply against the law. I'm wondering how Ben Shapiro is going to justify that one away.
That particular code section.
Hey, we got 666 viewers right now. Awesome. Welcome all 666 of you.
Is dedicated to the idea that Donald Trump was attempting to obstruct the counting of the votes. The law punishes, quote, whoever corruptly alters, destroys, mutilates, or conceals a record, document, or other object, or otherwise obstructs, influences, or impedes by any official proceeding. This is one of the 2 offenses the committee included in John Eastman's referral. Again, the idea here is that Donald Trump maybe attempted to get people to change their testimony. Now, what evidence is going to come forth showing that he was exerting serious pressure? And what...
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. He was calling people. Is Ben, like, relying on people not being informed on this? Or is he not informed on this? I don't know. Donald Trump was contacting witnesses to the January 6th committee and telling them if they testify, it's going to be really bad for them and stuff like that. Seriously. That's what that whole thing was about.
What kind of pressure is necessary to sustain an obstruction charge? That's the one that's going to be the most troublesome for Trump. Then you get to the ones that are very difficult to sustain, like, at all. The obstruction charge is going to be the one that, if the DOJ goes after Trump, is the one most likely to stick. The other 3 are going to be very difficult because obstruction...
They're really not going to be difficult to make them stick. All of them are likely to really screw Trump over. That's why they sent the recommendations in the first place.
Again, is a different crime than the actual underlying crime. The actual underlying crime suggesting that Trump was guilty of insurrection or that Trump was guilty of attempting to foment the overthrow of the republic or any of that kind of stuff. The obstruction charge can be as simple as he gets on the phone with Brad Raffensperger and says, I'm going to make your life a living hell unless you do X. And X happens to be a thing that is not legal. Or unless you change your testimony, if he called up one of the witnesses. Now, we still have no evidence that I'm aware of that suggests that Trump directly called a witness and told the witness not to testify truthfully.
No, we do. We do have evidence of that. I guess Ben Shapiro is unaware of it. But yeah, they did call. He must not have been paying attention when all this was happening. The January 6th committee came out and said this in one of their, hearings or whatever.
Fully. It's very difficult to sustain any of these convictions. Criminal prosecution is not the easiest game in town, which is why the DOJ is taking its time with this sort of thing. And also why a congressional committee staffed by Donald Trump's opponents isn't exactly the most viable source of a referral for criminal charges. Charge 2 is conspiracy to defraud the United States. It's a broadly written statute, according to the Wall Street Journal, prohibiting agreement to obstruct a lawful function of the government.
Wait, let me step back, listen to that one more time.
Staffed by Donald Trump's opponents isn't exactly the most viable source of a referral for criminal charges. Charge 2 is conspiracy to defraud the United States. It's a broadly written statute, according to the Wall Street Journal, prohibiting agreement to obstruct a lawful function of the government by deceitful or dishonest means. In March, a federal judge said that Trump, his post-election conduct may have violated this law, as well as the obstruction statute described above. Now, again, obstruct a lawful function of the government by deceitful or dishonest means, that's very broadly written. And what does that boil down to specifically? Is that an intent fraud? It seems like an intent crime. It seems as though Donald Trump would have to intend to obstruct the election.
Yeah, so if intent plays into this at all, in Ben's opinion, it's completely unenforceable. Now, is that reality? No, that's not how things work in reality at all. But he believes it, so I guess that's all that really matters, right?
Which means that he would have to have known that what he was doing was wrong, which is always a difficult thing for Trump. Then there is charge 3, conspiracy to make a false statement. This prohibits making false statements to the government. The committee suggested that by submitting a false slate of presidential electors, Trump and his allies may have engaged in a conspiracy to violate the statute. But again, that is suggesting that you can't have an alternative legal theory whereby Donald Trump thought that these elections had been stolen from him, rightly or wrongly, and had suggested the possibility of an alternative slate of electors, which has in fact happened in American history before. So that statute does not seem to apply in this particular case. And finally, the biggie, right, this is the one that they're hanging all of their hats on, is insurrection. This statute makes it a crime to assist or engage in, quote, any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws. Now, the Justice Department has not brought an insurrection charge in any of the criminal prosecutions of the people who actually went into the Capitol building shouting, "Hang my Pence." So they did.
Right. They brought seditious conspiracy charges against these people that actually went inside. Because I don't know that they were setting out to foment an insurrection. I think they were just trying to break in and stop the proceedings or whatever. But Donald Trump may have been the leader of the insurrection. I guess we'll see if this sticks. I don't see why it matters if any of the other people were, like, part of this or not.
You're going to hang this around Trump's neck. It's just silly. You're not going to be able to get an insurrection charge against the former president of the United States, who, in fact, did leave office legally.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, Ben seems pretty confident in this. Maybe he feels more confident about it because he wants his audience to be confident in it, to try to kind of sway public opinion. I'm sorry, man. I just think that's ridiculous.
So these sorts of charges, I think it's very unlikely the DOJ is going to be able to uphold any of those except perhaps the obstruction one.
We'll see.
And even that will be very dicey. Now, the DOJ may do it anyway. The DOJ may do it for obviously political purposes because it's a win-win for the Biden administration and the Democrats.
Obviously political. Right. Yeah. It has to be political if somebody is charged with a crime. Absolutely.
2022 election showed is that this entire debacle is a win-win for the Democrats. Let's say that they go after Trump, and let's say that they lose. Let's say that Trump is actually, quote-unquote, vindicated. They believe that Trump is the weakest candidate to run against. And they do that based on the fact that he lost in 2020, he lost 2 Senate seats in 2021, and his candidates got their asses kicked in 2022. So if you're the Democrats, what you're thinking is, let's elevate this issue. Either we get Trump, in which case we take him off the board and we take the wind out of the sails of his supporters, or we don't get Trump, in which case Trump is elevated against his possible Republican opponents, and we think his Republican opponents are stronger. We fear them more than we fear Trump.
That's fair enough. I think, if Trump goes to jail or not, if Trump is taken out of the running to be president or not, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. It's going to be bad either way. Like, if Trump is not sent to jail, if Trump is not taken out of the running for president, then he will probably have to battle with Ron DeSantis. Chances are that, they're going to fight with each other. Trump may tear the party in two, and he might not. Honestly, it's a bad thing if Trump has the opportunity to run for president at all. It shouldn't work like this. If Trump is taken out of the running, DeSantis most definitely wins the primary, without a doubt. He's like one of the most popular, presidential candidates out there, and he hasn't even announced. So no matter what happens, I think it's going to be bad. So I think that the Department of Justice is just going to make the decision that they believe is most, lawful and go from there. That's what I'm assuming they're doing right now. That's the mode in which I assume they're working. That's what I would be doing if I were working in the Department of Justice, because no matter what decision they make, it's going to end badly. Trump goes to jail. There are going to be a ton of supporters that absolutely lose their minds. Trump doesn't go to jail. It ends badly anyways, because there's an opportunity for this insurrectionist to run for office.
So it's a win-win for them to go forward with this sort of activity.
It's not a win-win.
Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, that was kind of interesting, I thought. I don't know. I think Ben Shapiro is completely full of it in everything that he says and does, beginning to end. And I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he knows exactly what he's talking about, and I think he's a propagandist, an intentional propagandist, in my opinion. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let me know if you want to see more stuff like this.